Londres.
What is it that is impelling thousands of Western-born jihadis to take up arms in the militias in Syria and Iraq? What kind of force impels a boy brought up in Molenbeek or Malmö or Marseille or Manchester not only to take up arms against his own country, but to do so in the cause of the vilest organisation on the face of the planet? I'm struggling to think of anything that Islamic State could do to shift further along the spectrum of wickedness, and I'm really struggling. This is an organisation that beheads aid workers, that enslaves children, that slaughters thousands on grounds of their religious faith, that dynamites antiquities, and yet, somehow, it is attracting, in their hundreds and thousands, people brought up in Western cities. What's going on? Look, I don't want to oversimplify this. There's plainly more than one factor at work. A lot of the answer lies in psychology. You look at the profile of almost all the Western-born jihadis, whether they're converts or whether they were brought up as Muslims, and you see the classic terrorist profile of every group down the ages. Young, male, narcissistic, history of petty crime, very rarely with girlfriends, and a sense that they can see things more clearly than anyone else. But that can't be all that there is to it. I wonder whether we're not contributing by failing to provide a better sense of identity. The United States is very good at making newcomers want to integrate. It goes in for loud, heavy-handed displays of patriotism. Flags in the yard, bunting on Independence Day, things that make some Euro snobs wince, but which are very, very good at making somebody who was born in another part of the world feel patriotic. Now, the governing idea in Europe is very different. It's that the nation-state is finished, was in any case a dangerous and disagreeable concept, and that we now live in this post-national, kind of post-identity age where our national flags will eventually go the same way as our passports and be assimilated into a kind of non-national or post-state common humanity. Well, you can see why that leaves the children of newcomers with something of an identity crisis. In the United Kingdom, where the British brand has been derided and traduced for some 40 years by our intellectual elites, you can see people groping back towards older patriotisms and self-identifying as English or Scottish or Welsh. But where does that leave the child of newcomers? What is there for him to be part of? And the problem is even more extreme here in Belgium. Molenbeek is 10 minutes drive from where I'm talking to you. Somebody growing up in Molenbeek, if he has had any history at all in school, will have learnt that the story of Belgium is one of hateful racism and exploitation. His every interaction with the federal authorities in Belgium will have taught him to despise the state. This is a country which, if you like, exaggerates the European problems. It's an EU in miniature because there is no Belgian language, there's no Belgian history, there's no Belgian culture. There is a state held together by public spending, which then contains different communities, which segregate on the basis of language and what TV they watch and what political parties they vote for. Perfectly understandably, when people are reaching back and self-identifying as either Flemish or Walloon, where does that leave, for example, a Moroccan-born boy in Molenbeek? What is there for him to be part of? Is it any surprise that he begins to cast around for a more confident, more assertive identity? And whatever else we say about the murderers in Daesh, they're not lacking in self-confidence. Theirs is the nihilistic appeal that in previous generations drove some kids to join the Baader-Meinhof gangs or the Red Brigades, the promise of a new dawn that makes no concession to human nature or to anything that has gone before. The best way to defeat a bad idea is with a better idea. There is no more wretched idea in the world than the death cult that calls itself Islamic State. And there is no more uplifting idea than the autonomy and the freedom that defines Western societies. we shouldn't be afraid of saying so. This story shall the good man teach his son. In the end, it comes down to self-confidence. Not theirs, ours.